on June 1st, I think the world changes.
I hope now it will make sense to everyone and to non-believers also when PiggyBanx would always post and Shane would always say, guys, this is just the beginning.
Just the beginning.
Excited to even, hear this.
I don't like pumps. Sam, I'm not a card guy. I don't like people pumping the market. I'm not here for it. Farik and Sam, welcome back to CAA. How we doing this morning?
How you doing, Kurt?
How you guys doing, Farik, Kurt?
Man, we just finished watching the series. At least two of us did. Farik, what'd you do last night? Did you watch Game 7?
No, I was watching Game 11 of New York Rangers.
Game
11 of but I was monitoring the score. I was watching at the scores. I'm just happy for all the LA friends.
Sam,
what's
my
up?
Canadian friend, man.
What's up, Kurt?
How much did Game 7 hurt you?
That hurt, man. That hurt. But you know what? Like I said, Shohei is one of my favorite players. So seeing him win was kind of the consolation prize. But I wanted that one for Canada, man. So.
Same. I told you I got engaged in Toronto. So I have some love for not only Canada, but Toronto specifically. I also am a huge Ohtani fan. What a great face for the league.
Yeah.
So I was okay either way. But when the Blue Jays are right there, you got Dodgers colliding with each other, catching balls. It's too much, man. It's too much.
It had everything that game. It was a great game, though. I mean, I was on my feet pretty much the entire last, 6 innings. I don't know. It was pretty intense.
Epic. But there's something else more epic to talk about today. It's not the series. Nobody cares. It's over. It's done. The studio's probably hyped because maybe they'll release an Ohtani crown. Is an Ohtani crown coming, you think?
Ooh. I don't think so.
Ooh.
I think it's too early. I think
it's too early. Yeah, you're probably right. If you look at all the guys that have been there, it's still too early for him.
I don't know, man. Mr. Banks. Mr. Banks is the Dodgers fan.
He does the unexpected all the time.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he whips one out today. I had my monthly meetup virtually with Mr. Banks last week, and we're going to talk for an hour, and maybe we slipped that schedule slightly, and we covered a lot of ground. So we need to recap because every time I talk to him, it's just insanity. Here's the first item on the agenda for Farik and Sam. First item is we've heard everyone talk about the money bands era, and the bedroom era, and the garage era, and all these different eras. What Mr. Banks told me earlier is forget all that nonsense. He considers day one of him in his bedroom until 31 May 2026, just so you heard, 2026, that's next year. That entire period is what he's referring to as the startup era. We made a bunch of mistakes. A lot of things happened. We were getting going. We were learning the ropes, all these things. Like the startup era in his mind, not over. We all need to ditch this term eras. And so much he was elaborating on all that went into that phase to get where they are today. So I want to explore with you guys because I'm fairly new. But first, what's your reaction to him saying the startup era isn't over? Farik, you've been in for a minute. What does it mean to you if he's saying, hey guys, you think we're doing things now? You know nothing because we're still up in our startup phase for another 8 months.
Well, I always thought that there's just way more that that they can do to expand this in this art, in this if you wanna call it in this space. But yeah, I mean if you look at his studio's evolution from quote unquote the bedroom era, right? From those money bands, from Brad selling pieces, from the trunk of his car to the card shows.
Giving away pieces. Just giving them away.
Giving away pieces, yeah, to where we are right now. That's already, I mean, many people can definitely consider that as already different stages of the evolution. But you just, dropped it at us, but it's all part of the stage one, which is not even over yet. And look at, we're already at the 400% right now. And, supposedly 1000% are, lurking around here and there. And there's still 8 months left of this, right? So again, look at the money bands and all the transformation of the art, the designs, the printing, the mechanism of the drops, and and everything else to where we are right now. And apparently this is still part one.
This is still nothing. This is nothing to him.
I'm actually extremely excited to even hear this.
Crazy. Sam, what's your first reaction to that?
Just like Farik said, man, it sounds exciting to me. I mean, I've been in this for, I don't know, a little bit over a year, and I've already seen so much evolution. Like Farik was saying, touching up on 400%. We got our mind blown with 400%. Now 1000%. And to think that this is just the startup area, I can't even imagine. Like, my imagination doesn't take me that far, like what that next era is going to look like, right? So I'm excited more than anything.
Now, there's a lot of focus. Man, I hear in the community a lot. He's the first to do it. Piggy made the industry. He made this sector. He's paved the way for other artists. In fact, I've interviewed artists who sort of recognize that fact. They say, hey, none of this would be possible without PiggyBanx. They sort of pay homage to it. Now, they don't dwell in it for 20 minutes on the interview, but they acknowledge that fact. Do you guys think that that's the case? Do you guys think PiggyBanx made this space possible? Because here's my take. My take is, I know what it took for PiggyBanx to get from bedroom times. Do we have to call it times now instead of era? Bedroom times to now current times, to give away pieces. I mean, you think about it. He's giving away pieces that have sold for $50K, $100K on secondary, which is crazy to think about. He's personally, I think, hunting his own money bands because he gave them all away. That's nuts. To do all of that and to have the blood, sweat, and tears for a year or two, to then be able to sell out a drop, to now have multiple thousand submissions. What are your thoughts on when other artists come in? Do you think there's recognition of the fact that that was created by PiggyBanx? This whole sector, this whole space was that these people can now come in and sell out because of what the path that they've set? What's your reaction when you hear that? I hear it all the time.
You know what, Kurt? I think it's true, man. I think other artists will tell you that too. That Piggy paved the way. I think, like, I mean, you can see it. Like, let's just ignore everything else and just look at the facts. Just, you can see it in the pricing. Nobody else is going to be able to price their product at $750. All right, everybody's around, and I have purchased, other people's stuff just out of curiosity because this just the art speaks to me, right? And everybody else is around that 200, 300 range. But the reason why they're even able to charge that is, in my opinion, because Piggy is at 750. If Piggy wasn't at 750, they never have a shot at selling at 200 or 250 or whatever it might be. Right? So I definitely think that there is some merit to people saying that, hey, Piggy paved the way. Like, I wasn't around long enough to know whether there's artists before him. I think there were. I think I've seen it in the chats before, like some other artists that were doing the same thing. But definitely Piggy made it what it is today.
Yeah, and maybe it's less of a question of who was first, about who changed and revitalized or made the industry what it is. Maybe that's the better question. Farik, what are your thoughts?
I think artists were, artists were always there, right? Doing the arts. We have bunch of artists who were designing Piggy pieces in 2022 or early 2023. Prior to that, I'm sure they were just artists who were, like putting their work on the canvases, or digitally on the computers, and that's it. So I think what Piggy did is he helped them bring this art and show it in a whole new world, show it as a part of the digital art collectibles that you can actually hold instead of holding sport card, So it created this whole new venue of collectibles. And I think any artist who is not going to agree that, that PiggyBanx studio paved the way and created this whole space is just lying to themselves.
Yeah. But now begs the obvious question, just because I'm cynical and I'm the jerk in the room. Always, which I love. Does it matter? Does it matter who was first or who revitalized the industry, or does it matter where you go from there? Let's take Ford. Not everyone drives Ford cars these days, even though I think everyone would acknowledge Ford's first. And when Ferrari makes a car, they normally don't pay homage to Ford. They don't release a car and be like, this wouldn't have been possible without Ford. That's not a thing. At some point, that drops off. Does it matter? Is PiggyBanx great because he was first, or PiggyBanx great just because he's the best? I guess is kind of the question.
He's great because they are the best in what they do. They are, as we said, they innovating on a daily basis, right? But at the same time, in some sense, you can also say that when you have that competition, and for the record, I don't believe there's any competition at this point, but I think when you have that other competition, it also kind of helps you strive to be even better. And we can use an analogy with Apple and iOS be what it is today if there would be no Android. So they kind of like push each other to be better. And again, both iOS and Android are kind of like on the same level. Piggy is in a league of its own. In my opinion, there's nobody even remotely close to compete with from the art perspective to everything else. But I mean, to answer your question, does it really matter who was the first? Probably not, but every artist should know and should, acknowledge that that PiggyBanks are the ones who created this space and made it, possible for others to do it as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with Farik, and you know what? And I actually appreciate those artists that acknowledge that point, because you know what? I don't know like which discords or IG chats you're part of, but sometimes you see some of that negativity. But there's arrows aimed at PiggyBanks because he's the king. So and any negativity directed at PiggyBanks, sometimes you might have defenders, like people like, hey, no, man, like, I look up to him, like he's the reason why I'm here. And sometimes you get that, but sometimes like if I see an artist kind of feed into that negativity and try to, stoke that fire, I immediately I'm turned off by that artist right away. So I agree with Farik. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter who is first. We know who the king is, right?
Here's an interesting take from my conversation with Mr. Banks. I clearly feel he has a chip on his shoulder. I don't think he's annoyed or angry by the fact that he's paved the way. I think it motivates him. I think it motivates him when he sees other artists have joined, and he's just going to push harder. He's one of those guys in the locker room. I'm a sports guy. Farik, you can attest that you just create locker room material no matter what anyone says. No matter what anyone says. If I see another artist sell out for $200, to your point, Sam, that's possible because of me. Just no one said it. No one might even think it, but it's gonna intrinsically motivate me. That's what I see in Mr. Banks. Now you two know him. Do you see that fire? That fire. I love that fire in people.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do. Yeah, no, so Farik, you go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, I know, like, at my last interview with Kurt, I threw this analogy of Apple, back then. I told you, I see so much of it in the way PiggyBanks, Brad, like, and Cody, the way they handle their business. It's like, it's same as with Steve Jobs. He never cared about outside noise, outside opinions, or at least he never showed that he cared. For him, it was always his vision. Whether it's right, whether it's wrong, it's his vision, and that's how he's gonna do that. And so many times, so many people did not agree with his vision. From the time when he was like, like changing the ports on the phone and bringing like new charges, people like, what the hell are you doing, this and that? He said, that's gonna be the norm. I'm doing it because in 6 months, in a year, that's gonna be like the norm. And guess what? It always turned out to be a norm. Right. So he had a vision and he followed his vision and he revolutionized the whole market. I see this exact thing with the way the studio handles their things. It's they have their, and we don't even know what's going on in their head, right? We always hear in the groups and this and that, oh, why they doing this, why they doing that, why they giving PMG to that person or to that person. It doesn't make any sense. And even though I can sit here and kind of agree that yes, sometimes it doesn't make sense, like certain moves, but at the same time I always say, guys, everything that they do has the reason. Every step of the process, every drop, every word, everything that they do, there is a reason behind, there's a meaning behind it, and they see like the path. So we just have to enjoy this ride, like with them until they get like to their destination.
But at the same time, Farik, right? I think we all acknowledge that everything is for a reason, but there's also mistakes. And I think what I saw from Mr. Banks in sort of a retrospective is I sort of asked if there's any pieces he would redo or things like that. And he is so self-critical and self-aware. He acknowledged, Kurt, we made a ton of mistakes. This is why it's the startup era. If I cut off the startup era at Moneybands, I can't account for all the other 100 mistakes we've made. I'm paraphrasing, but it leads me to believe that when I build a briefing, let's say, and I look back on it a year from now, I always hate it. There's not a product I've ever made in my career that I don't look back on like that's SHIT. Every single one, because I know more. I've learned more. I look at it through a more critical lens. That's what I see from the studio, to your point, is that criticalness is saying, hey, we might have a vision, but also we mess up. Maybe we did put a PMG in the wrong hands. Maybe we shouldn't have released this particular piece, or maybe we shouldn't release this particular variant, or maybe we shouldn't have priced it this way. Who knows? We didn't go over what he thought were mistakes, but he thinks of it as, I think I've now started to see what this company should be, and I didn't know it until now. It took all this time, years, to get to where we are, which leads me to believe they're so far ahead of everyone else.
I think that's an important part also to acknowledge that the vision was there, but look at the patience. I mean, I think that's a very key word here also, the patience, because from the bedroom times to the June 1, 2026, that's like roughly, we're talking about 4 years, right? I mean, that is patience, determination, because they have that vision and they don't want to jeopardize it, and they taking things slowly, even though, I mean, a lot happened, right? But in their mind, like they had the vision that new era that you say cannot happen until we reach a certain level. So a lot of artists would finish that in a half a year, in a year or so, and just, you know, be like pushing pieces right and left and making money. But they're taking their time. They have the goal. They're being patient. And now we're learning that, you know, that road is coming to an end soon, and we have a new era coming. So I think that vision and patience are key here.
Can you imagine? Could you imagine knowing what you're going to do on 1 June and, to your point, waiting until 1 June? They could do this. They could do this in December of this year. Some of the things he talked about, I saw with my own eyes. And he's like, we're not doing it until 1 June. Because he's looked back and he said, we've done things too quickly before. And specifically, let's take transparency. The fact that he sends out this sort of transparent variation or phantom. And then industry caught up within a week, 2 weeks. I think he views that as a premature release on his part. It wasn't a well thought out strategy. I put it out. I could have done so much more with that. And now the whole industry is doing it, and he doesn't want to do it again. Like, he doesn't want to do it again because he doesn't want to seem like he's following in the footsteps of others. And so I think now he's saying, let's be patient, to your point, Farik. Love the word. I want to be more patient because I have all of these ideas and I'm just not going to throw it out. I'm going to make sure the entire strategy is completely baked before we put it out. And when we do, nobody's going to touch it. No one can touch it. That's epic. Sam, what are your thoughts, man, when I say when he regrets releasing something like Phantom?
I agree with you, man. Like, because, you know, it goes back to your point where you're talking about, like, does it matter who's first or who's the best? I think there's always pressure on artists to feel like I was the first to put that one out there, whether it was you're ready or not, because you're worried about the next guy. Like, oh, if the next guy puts that out there and then I put my stuff after, I'm going to look like I'm the copycat. So then there's always that feeling where you feel like, even though it might not be 100% what I want, I have to put it out there first because I have to be the first. I think if there was less focus on that, but rather focus on, like, how do we do it the best? I think, yeah, absolutely. I would choose the latter. So I think he's right on that path.
Freak, you nailed it with Apple. I mean, how many times you've heard stakeholders slam their desks saying, release the next something and speed up change. Yeah. Speed up change in your pace of innovation. Well, no, if you're going to get it right, that cycle looks long. And we talked about the speed of change. We specifically addressed that point, and he acknowledged the speed of change is slow. And I think a lot of artists in this game expedite their speed of change just to get a new drop. Hey, look at this drop. I've got this. I've got this. I've got this. And good on them. I'm not hating on it, but I'm just saying when you take a more intentional strategic approach and say, hey, I could do that, but what does it mean for that business line? Am I just going to throw out the first iPad, or am I going to get everything precisely perfect and release it 8 years later?
That's exactly that's exactly what I wanted to say, that you're not really like innovating anything new per se. You know, like the iPad or the touchscreen could have been there already, but he released it when it made sense, when it worked perfectly with everything else, right? So it's a complete product. So to your point, you know, to what like Sam said about like transparency, for example, you know, yes, you might have other artists, like trying to be first, quote unquote, and release, like something. But when the studio does it, if and when the studio does it, they're going to do it in the best way possible. When it's not a rushed product, but it's a well thought through product and it's going to work the way it's intended.
So 1 June 2026, the new era, the next era. He's going to come up with a cool word, I'm sure. Right? June 1, 2026. I said, what the heck does that look like if, like you said, we're in the world of 400s and 100s and PMGs and all these things? He said, paraphrasing everything, nothing's a quote, everything will change. Now, easy to say, okay? All right, whatever, everything will change. No. This was like emphasized. If you can bold, italicize, underline, everything will change. There will be heightened focus on quality. Now you think about that again. We go back to the Apple analogy. I think of the John Ivey videos of how they put all that work into the curvature of the phone, right? The precision. Heightened focus on quality. Nobody's going to say that PiggyBanx quality is subpar. The quality is S tier. Heightened focus on quality. Heightened focus on intentionality. Heightened focus on innovation in every aspect of the business. And I specifically said to him, I said, you know what? If you're the best, Mr. Banks, again, because I'm the jerk, I didn't say it like this, but somewhat like this. If you're the best, why can I put a PiggyBanx piece on my mantle next to another artist piece and they look the same? Not in terms of quality of art, not in terms of concept, but I'm saying in their sort of shape and form factor. Everybody's using the Thick Boys Phantoms. Everybody's using all these things. They're all, if you put them on the table and you walk a random person in and you say which one's best, then art's subjective and they can pick anything. They all look kind of the same. He's saying, no, Kurt. When I say everything will change, I'm saying everything will change. When it's on the mantle, you will know it's different. When it's on the mantle, you will know it's different. It will not look the same. It will not be the same. The everything from packaging to experience to actually when it's now displayed is not going to look the same. Now I'm not going to go further, but what is your reaction when I say, because right now everybody's cool with what they're doing, right? You're cool with it. Look at your whole wall, Sam. Your whole flipping wall is this. What if I told you they're not going to look the same, man? What do you say? And when I say they're not going to look the same, they're obviously going to look better. They're going to be epic. What are your thoughts, man? What's your first reaction? Because it's the first time I'm telling this to you.
My first reaction is, damn, that's sweet, because these will become relics then. Like these are
those pieces are started here.
The money bands.
Exactly. This is the new money bands then, right? I missed the money band era. I wasn't around for that. So that gets me excited. I can't even fathom how they can change. Like I mean, that's the thing I'm so impressed with, right? With the studio is that they have these visions. Like, when you tell me this, I'm more excited than anything else. A little bit nervous, but more excited than anything else, because my imagination doesn't even take me that far. I can't even imagine when you say like everything's going to change. I can't even imagine like what that change would look like. So I'm more excited than anything else.
I don't know about you guys. I want the piece to look like it's a $750 piece. Now, I think it does, because I think the art and the concepts are amazing. Again, who's first, who's second, who's better. When you see every other artist using Thick Boys, Phantom Display, whatever, 3D, whatever, it's all the same. It's all the same. Now, in the football card industry, people really strive to get visually different, and they have different thickness of cards. They have different whatever of whatever. Now, again, I don't know exactly what he means, but to know that when you put this on the mantle, you're going to be able to instantly recognize that this piece is more valuable. It is more premier. It is more prestigious. It is more upscale. It's higher quality. To visually be able to do that as a stranger walking by a table and say, that one's clearly better. Forget the art, forget the concepts. That one's just visually better.
I'm not even gonna pretend that I am, creative or even have any idea of what they can come up with, because I really can't. But I'm gonna give you a quick story. But let me show you this one, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is it called?
Yeah. Why'd you pick that one? Just randomly, just grab that one. Okay.
Heavy is the head, right? I mean, the things that go through their minds over there. And I give you a quick story because that's when I first, got a peek of what they're about, right? When I purchased my Alpha MJ in the auction, after the auction, Brad sends me the link to pay and it didn't work. So I text him back and I'm saying it doesn't work. And he just unloaded. Fuck this, fuck that. That's not how the experience should have been. He apologized like 20 times. I'm like, well, I mean, dude, it's technology. I mean, things happen, links
Oh,
don't
yeah.
work. But
Yeah.
back then, like I understood like right away what this is all about. Like the experience, the customer experience of what he wants it to be is on a whole new level. Every little detail matters. So trying to imagine what the future in June is going to be like on our mantles, I have no idea. But, I'm going to say that I never, when I'm looking at these pieces, the thought always comes to my head that that's not the end product. There's something different, even from the packaging, like right now, right? The acrylic boxes, that we come, they're very nice presentation. But I can definitely see the studio is working extremely hard to make it look completely different, make it look even more unique and even more presentable. And as you said about the Fig Boys, which I just learned that it's called like Fig Boy like yesterday. What's Fig Boy? What are people calling Fig Boys?
I feel
What is
uncomfortable
this?
calling it that. I'm to be honest. I don't want to call them that.
But yes, everybody and their mother, like Fig Boys. And I was just thinking about it like a few weeks ago, but I was like surprised that we're still using that. But it all makes sense. Like he wants his product to be very different. And at the same time, I also think like when you're saying should be like on a mantle and stuff like that. And again, I might be completely off here, completely wrong. But I think where he wants this to be is extremely exclusive. So I would not be surprised myself if comes June of 26, it's going to be a whole different approach. Maybe it's not going to be 40, 50 pieces anymore, a drop. Maybe it's not going to be like 2 drops a week. Maybe it's going to be more. I'm just thinking out loud, right? But the goal, I think, was always to be at the galleries, not at the card shows. That's my opinion. So I can definitely see this whole thing being completely like revamped from the presentation to art to size of art to everything else. But I think exclusivity will probably be the key word.
I think exclusivity is at the forefront of everyone's mind. But when you've got 2,000 plus submissions, I mean, 40 is pretty exclusive. I think they could win even if they up the print run. But to your point, it's about the concept, it's about the innovation, it's about the quality. It's about, I mean, there's not only 40 Rolexes out there. It doesn't mean that they're not going to sell for tens of thousands of dollars. But also, I mean, you hit on something important, which is the customer experience. I think they're so hyper focused right now on the customer experience that in this exclusive club of the PiggyBanx world, which I agree, I think they're going to move more and more into this exclusivity. And I don't know if that means less pieces. I look at it more like a country club. Like we've got this close knit, high end gallery quality pieces, and the customer experience is going to be Ritz-Carlton style. When you need something, there's going to be someone there to bring it to your room. If you need to know where the restroom is, someone's going to walk you by hand instead of just pointing you down the level of exclusivity and customer service. I think they're putting so much more attention. I don't think other artists do this. I think the artists make the art and then they sell it. Whereas they're saying, no. That's a piece of our business. The other piece is the customer experience. The other piece is the brand. The other piece is all of these things. And it's like, you're not treating this like an art drop. You're treating this like a exclusive club. Sam, I mean, am I wrong here? Is that how you see it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The one thing that always sets PiggyBanx apart is the experience, like from everything from the packaging, like to the unboxing. It's like none other, right? And like forget the art itself. So you can tell that they are hyper focused on that experience. But if I'm speaking honestly and truthfully, do I feel like that process could be improved even further, or that experience could be even better? Absolutely. So I'm glad that they're focusing on that, because I do see areas that can be improved on, and I'm excited to see what happens June 1st, 2026.
I think June 1st is going to be a light switch moment. I think it's literally going to be like, it's not like Apple is going to say, okay, here's the next iteration of the iPhone. You're like, oh, cool. Longer battery life and a better camera and a better... No, I think it's going to be like power down like a nuclear power plant. Like, okay, the startup era is done. 2 keys required to launch a nuke. Like everything's going to power down and then they're going to power this up. And I think on June 1st, I think the world changes. I literally think that's what this next era means is they're going to say, I'm going to roll out all of this simultaneously. I'm going to roll out new packaging. I'm going to roll out new whatever. I'm going to roll out new website. I'm going to roll out new... Everything's going to happen at once because I think PiggyBanx, again, having the chip on his shoulder and creating the locker room material in his head is saying, you know what? If there are people out there imitating me, if there are people trying to keep up, I'm going to do 100 things once. I'm going to flick the switch and then see what happens. See what that experience is like and see if you can catch up with the customer experience, the quality, the innovation, the concepts, all of it simultaneously. Boom, let's play. That's what I think's coming. And that's why I think he's being patient for it because I think it's going to just blow everything away.
I hope now it will make sense for, to everyone and to non-believers also when, PiggyBanx would always post and Shane would always say, guys, this is just the beginning.
Just the beginning.
They've been saying this for a long time. And some people are like, what do you mean it's the beginning? We're doing, like what else? But it was a continuous message from the studio, from Shane especially, right? This is just the beginning. So it all starts to make sense now. I never thought it's going to be, such as like you're saying, clearly, midnight of May 31st and the obvious switch, but it all makes sense now.
That's how I visualize it. I visualize it as this is a Y2K moment. Like brace yourself.
I'm freaking excited. I'm excited as fuck.
I'm excited and nervous at the same time, right? Because when you say like everything's gonna change, I'm like, man, what if I'm being cut out somewhere along the process, right? Like
I was just thinking about it. Shit. Is it going to be harder to get pieces?
Yes, exactly. That's the selfish part of me that is thinking like if they're making this more exclusive, like what if I don't make the cut? Then I'm on the outside looking in. So I'm excited and nervous at the same time. Excited for the studio, nervous for myself.
And like I said, I don't think exclusivity means less pieces. That's Farouk's words, and I'm not in that camp.
It's just my opinion, by the way.
Yeah, I think it's all speculation. I think that they could increase the print run and be fine. I think it's still going to be more. So you got to think again. If you have 2,000 people wanting a piece, I did this math on another interview, and you got 40 pieces going out, right? I mean, what's the percentage of people getting that just submitted? Now, as submissions go up to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000, and you have 40 pieces, that's still even worse math, right? So now you're at like 0.4%. So
do you think? Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I don't think that number of pieces necessarily matters. I think it's everything. And I have no idea what they're going to do with the number of pieces. Maybe they take it to 10. Maybe they take it to 100. I don't think it matters. I guess is my point in the next.
Or do you think maybe there will be some kind of in addition to like regular style drops, there will be different kind of drops where you only have 5 or 10 pop count.
I think the studio is thinking through that right now. And again, nothing directly that was stated, but just me trying to read through the lines but look at it now. You have to ask the question of how do you handle things like regular variations and PMGs and alpha? So right now the studio's saying, okay, regular and PMGs are going out to the 40 people randomly, and the alpha is going on auction sometimes. Now, sometimes also the studio holds back pieces. I don't know which ones they hold back.
Exactly.
And you don't know which ones go out. Could they sell PMGs separately? Could you sell regular variations at $750 and PMGs for $100,000? Yes. Could you sell alpha at a separate piece? Could you continue to come out with new variations and sell those at different price points? You could do this 100,000 ways.
Absolutely.
To chase money or growth or whatever it is they want to do. Do you want people to have the shot at $750 to hit a PMG? Do you want to make that a luxury line of the brand? Like PiggyBanx could even split into multiple things. You could have a luxury line and you can have a collectible brand. There's so many things they could do. I don't know what the right answer, but I know the studio's thinking through them all.
And can you also imagine maybe those short runs are are done as part of the loyalty program, right? For loyal collectors, right? So for example, if you hold 75% of your like releases, WoW releases, like for a year, you get a chance to get a drop, which is, only 5 and 10 like ever made, some kind of like a loyalty reward program.
It's like
I mean, as you said, there
an
are so many
an
options.
evolution of the Knights program, right?
I hope that continues.
Right? It's the next wave, because is the studio, when we talked about the Knights program, I said previously, I think it's going to continue. The studio can't continue pumping out 24 drops a year for Knights. It stands in the way, I think, right? So that has to change. And to your point, could it be some sort of loyalty program that is the next wave of the Knights program? I mean, why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't it?
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean,
you definitely dropped a lot on us.
You
Let's
dropped a
get
lot of
started,
thoughts,
man. So we talk about drops. We talk about the next wave. We talk about all these. By the way, before we even go to the next one, when you hear that June 1st is the light switch moment, does it make you want to buy more now or wait until June 1st?
Buy more.
Buy now.
Buy now.
Because to your point, everybody and their mother is chasing money bands because they thought there was a money band era. Now, when you hear from the studio, no, money bands are money bands. That is what it is, and those are amazing. That signifies a period of time, and there's limited runs. But now it's part of this overarching era that again will visibly look different. Will everything be different? I want to buy it.
But again, don't buy just for the sake of buying, right? Like, don't just, now go and just buy every, in my opinion, buy what you love. And there's still all kinds of different genres, like out there. A lot of people are selling, and, a lot of people like message me, especially like newer guys. And they're saying, "Oh my God, I wish I would be around in 2022. I would be around in 2023. When those like beautiful like money bands were released. I also wish that would happen, right?" But my response is always, how do you know that in 2027 we're not going to be sitting here and saying, "I wish I would be around in 2024 and 2025, and buying these pieces." Take an opportunity. If you love the art, you have the funds, you have the means, buy it. Just buy it and enjoy it.
Pace yourself too. Pace yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Don't burn out.
It's important.
All right, so we talked about exclusivity. I mean, we got to talk EQL, don't we? We have to address the elephant in the room, EQL. I've heard all sorts of things. In fact, there's been people recently, I was told, Sam, that are bitter. They're not hitting. Sam. Talk to me about what are you seeing in the community relative to EQL? And I'll tell you what I know.
Oh, man. Like, I think just this past week, we saw a lot of negativity. I think I saw 2 stories. Couple of guys that came over like from the sports card space, just like I did, right? Sports card and TCG, from ripping packs or whatever, and they're complaining. They're like, "Oh, I can never get a hit. I'm 0 for 17 EQL, whatever," and then I have to go and chase these pieces for 4x, and then they say like, "Oh, this is rigged, this is scam." The same people get they get all the drops. It's always the same people. There's like some guys that are close to the studio that get it all or whatever. There's all these misconceptions, I believe, personally, because I'll tell you, Kurt, since submission started, I've hit 7 times. 7 times. I think submission started like a year now, right? So that's like really 1 in every 2 months, maybe. And how many do they release? Like a month? Probably at least 10, right? So would it be that surprising to go 1 of 17? I don't think so. So some of these guys are like, "Oh, I'm 0 for 17. This is rigged. I'm quitting. I'm going back to sports card." And I'm thinking like, man, do you realize that all you have to do to try for a PiggyBanx is submit? It's free. You put in your email, takes you maybe about a minute to enter. And if you hit a piece, that piece is worth at least $750. I have $20,000 worth of cards like just that I'm going to rip. There's no guarantees of anything in there. I've been through like $10,000 of cards, ripping boxes and packs, and maybe pulling something worth $200, right? So it's like when they say like, "Oh, I'm just going to go back to sports card," I'm thinking like, what? I just know that's emotion speaking now, right?
Well, let me tell you
it's not
something.
logical.
I got an interesting take. I'm dying to hear your thoughts on this. So I heard recently that 25% is allocated to people with no hits. 25% is allocated to whatever, 1 to 5. I'm making up number. 25% is allocated to 10 to 20, and 25% is allocated to people with more than 20 pieces. I don't know if those are the actual numbers, but there's some sort of separation, 25, 25, 25, 25%. Think about it this way. If you're a new collector and you have a 25% of the allocation, which is 10 pieces, is going to collectors with 0 pieces. You know how many people have 0 pieces? Hundreds of thousands. Okay.
Yeah,
So you're in
tens
a
of thousands.
bucket competing against hundreds of thousands of people where there will only be 10 pieces. Whereas if you get yourself into the band of have 5 to 10 pieces, now you're competing against a much smaller subset. I've never heard the studio say, and this was not part of my conversation with Mr. Banks, but I've never heard them say that studio hits. I heard pieces. So I would offer, and I've seen it with my own eyes, if you're more active on secondary, your chances go up. Why? Because I think that takes you out of the competition of people with 0 pieces, which there are endless numbers of them, and now puts you in a smaller subset. Now I have a chance of getting 10 pieces out of the 100 people that have 5 to 10 pieces. I think that's why buying on secondary matters, especially early on, that you're supporting the brand. Am I crazy? Am I misinterpreting this? What are your takes on that?
Yeah, I
I
think
don't
your
think.
analysis is spot on.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. I mean, there's like if you're talking about guys that are applying that have 0 pieces, you're probably talking about that. Like you said, a majority of those submitting, right?
Yes.
And your chances are a lot slimmer than somebody with say, if there's a bucket like okay, 100 plus pieces, I imagine that bucket is going to be a lot smaller and a lot easier to hit,
Yes.
right? So then
Yes.
for those people that really look at it and they complain, they're like, oh, it's all the OGs that get everything. Well, that might be a reason why, right? If they're allocating 25, 25, 25, there's probably a lot less submissions in that upper band then, right?
100%.
And a lot more in that
10
lower band.
pieces going to people with 100 plus pieces. How many people are there? 12? So
I mean,
Yeah.
10 of the 12 are hitting?
I think we need to understand, right, that there is, again, only we assume 40 to 50 pieces, right? Thousands of people are applying for those. Number one is, yes, it's going to be very hard, like to get a drop. Number two is, I don't know how true it is. I think that the EQL somehow ties into your collector form. So if you just applying for everything, I think your chances are much less of hitting something. But if you are, if you put like a Pokemon, let's say as your number first, the choice, and the studio sees that you never apply for KOTC3, you never apply for crowns, you never apply for F1, but when Pokemon comes in, that's when you start applying. You might not hit like right away. You might not hit on the second or the third, but eventually, I think you will start seeing that your luck turns and you start hitting those. Because what you're doing is you're concentrating on your lane, on your collection. As far as the secondary that you said, I think you cannot build a collection of PiggyBanx pieces just on drops. It's not realistic. So dipping into the secondary here is almost mandatory. It's, if you want to build your collection. And to what's, I think Sam just said, or you, I'm sorry, I don't remember, but I was scrolling through IG yesterday and one lucky, like Jason, posted on his story about a new collector, I think they called Piggy Savers, who just recently got into the PiggyBanx world, and they buying a lot on secondary, and they're posting, some amazing pieces, like nice pieces. It's a duo, I think, of husband and a wife. I might be wrong, but I think it is. And I'm scrolling through their post, and I see Piggy on their messages posted saying somebody is due for the
Yeah, I
retail
saw that.
drop after
Yeah.
all those saves. So, like, what does it show, right? It shows I think it shows the commitment, right? That, you love the art and you're going out there and you're hustling and you're buying this from all those like drops, and there's a reward. So I think it's important to mention.
I asked AJC on an interview that hasn't even been posted yet if there's benefit of posturing in the community. I called it posturing. The posting and the glorification of it all. And I won't tell the result of that conversation, but I think there's something for brand loyalty and brand advocacy. I do think there's something to that. And then to your point, when you combine that with the collector form, you combine that with then separating yourself from the masses, separating yourself from the other 4,000 people with 0 pieces by attaining a piece on the secondary market, being strategic and intentional with what you're going after that aligns with your collector form, posting it, showing brand loyalty and advocacy, getting on PiggyBanx radar. All of it matters, I think. And I think people are foolish to think it doesn't. It does.
I think it absolutely does. Being a good ambassador of the brand, I think it definitely gets you some points. I might be wrong, but I think it does. I have a friend who, I think I mentioned to you, he's not really in the space. He saw a couple of pieces, like when he was over my house, and he loved it. And that was around the time when the KOTC one dropped, and he put in and he got it. He loved it so much, and now he wants like to collect everything. So he applied for Atani. He didn't get it, and I'm telling him, he's like, "Can you get me Atani?" I'm like, "Oh, this is not a cheap piece. You're like trading for a few $1,000s. So he's like, "Oh my god, I have to spend this and that." I'm like, "Yeah, this in this space, yes, you're gonna have to. I'm not saying you buy KOTC 2, hopefully you apply for KOTC 3 and you're gonna win it. But I'm like, you gotta be also a little bit more out there in the community. You're not even on Discord right now. If you look at your IG, you don't even have a picture like in your in your IG handle. Put your name out there, post stuff, get involved, so people people know you. And as I just said, be an ambassador of the brand.
The studio likes to connect with people. They like to understand their collectors. I learned it very early on. And so even if you're not an extrovert, no one's asking you to do that. You don't have to come on this channel and do a face-to-face interview. But by just posting something, lets the studio know. And I said, even if you don't want to post, send something in the wishing well. Write the studio a message. Say, hey, I've gone 0 for 17. I'm a diehard Pokemon fan. I'm going to submit for this next drop. I love it. It means such and such to me. There are ways to even discreetly do that. I'm not saying, hey, change who you are as a person and put your business out in front of the world, but getting the studio to know you is not going to hurt you.
And that's why I got upset also in a Discord, to what Sam mentioned, to what, like that person when they mentioned that. I got, like I'm usually, like trying to be diplomatic, not going all nuclear. But when I saw that post, I was like, that's just that kind of an attitude is definitely not going to get you any peace at all. Like if you think that, you're going to say that and you're going to threaten the studio by leaving and like right away, they're going to give you a piece. You're delusional, right? So there's a right way to go about everything. You can speak to other members who've been here for longer. Ask them questions, why do you think it's happening? Like what do you think I should be doing? Message the studio maybe. I'm not saying they're going to respond like right away, but message the studio, explain to them, tell them the story, I'm this, I'm that, or whatever the case might be, but putting it on your story in front of all the community, saying, F you, F this, F that, I'm going to collect somebody else. The response is, okay, go F yourself and go and collect.
Go back to ripping $10,000 in pieces and going to card shows and paying $5,000 for a card or something. I mean, it's the same thing. If you complain about secondary, like if there's a chase that I'm ripping packs to get, if I don't want to rip those packs, I got to go to a card show or eBay or something and pay 5x or whatever it is that it's worth. So
Absolutely.
It's the same thing. So I don't get what those people are complaining about. I really feel like it's just kind of misplaced, kind of emotional. Like it's just their emotions speaking, really.
I do a lot of work with the military and Department of Defense in my line of work. And there's a phrase that's very common in the military and special ops community, which is earned, not given. Now, when Mr. Banks and I were talking, he said something and he started to say what I thought was the word earned. And I said earned, not given. And it was like a Jinx-like moment where I played it with my 10-year-old. She was saying something in the car and I was trying to get her to stop talking. So I just parroted what she said and I said Jinx because she was playing that game. But Mr. Banks and I had that moment where we both simultaneously said, earned, not given. And we both kind of like looked at each other. He knows the phrase. And in that moment, I just thought, everything matters. Everything's intentional. Everything matters. Here's what he did say about EQL. He said the studio will continue to refine that system to ensure a balance of collectors will receive pieces. That's point one. Right now, there is that 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. Also, he specifically said the studio is working on their own homegrown system to replace EQL at some point. I don't know if that is 1 June 2026 when the lights go out and the system gets restarted, or if it's before then, but they are actively working on their own solution to this problem, and who knows what that will include. Does it include collector form? Does it include activity and brand advocacy? Does it include loyalty program? Who knows what it includes? But they're building their own system, and I'm sure they'll release details as time permits and as they get closer. So that's EQL. Next one is website. Talk about transparency. Rumor has they could pop out a website any single minute. It's ready to go. And Mr. Banks, like all things, said, Kurt, I don't really love it. It's the only reason it's not live right now. I don't love it. It's an upgrade from where it is, but it's not what I want it to be. Again, this is the perfectionist in him, where he looks back on just what he maybe did a week ago, and he's like, I don't like it. And you could spend every single day refining it and never release it. But I think he's saying, hey, I think it's better than what we have. We'll put it out, maybe as a stopgap until we get to 1 June 2026. But I think the new website's going to do a couple things. It's going to increase transparency. They're going to have more information on variants on there. They're going to have an online store where you can buy cases. People walking around with those beautiful PiggyBanx briefcases from the dinner. You might be able to pick those up. Maybe that's an opportunity to buy replacement thick boys. Still hate saying it. Still hate it. And whatever else, right? But an online store, information about releases, maybe what's released, these drop. The question for you guys is, what do you want to see in the website? And that's what's going to pop maybe next week. But when the final version or the next version comes out, what do you want to see from the website?
A lot of people actually, if you follow like a Discord, there are a lot of questions about the variants, right? What are all the variants? What is considered PMG? What is considered a special variant? What is not a special variant? A lot of newer collectors want to get 5-piece set holders. Some people are asking for acrylic boxes, shoe boxes. Some people are asking for thick boys. So there are a lot of questions, like always. So I think having an interactive website with this information, but also, again, right, the studio is so creative, so they can add so much more there that's gonna, I guess, provide more knowledge or more info about the studio, about the drops, and everything else. Just be more like transparent, I guess, with the collector base.
What do you think, Sam?
I get like new collector. I talk to a lot of new collectors, and I get a lot of questions about how to do wishing well, or like, oh, I can't find it, or people have trouble, and there doesn't seem to be one singular source. Like, we have to go to like Discord, and then we have the unofficial Discord, and official Discord to try to gather that information, just to do something like put money in the wishing well. So I think if all that information was centralized, anything that you can possibly think of that somebody that just stumbles upon PiggyBanx might have a question with, if all of those resources were readily available in one singular source, like on a website, maybe it could link other places, but at least it's a singular source that you can direct people there. I think definitely would be helpful.
Here's what I want to see. I want to see what pieces are released every drop in what variant. I don't know what the studio holds back today. I don't know if it's 1. I don't know if it's 2. And also, you saw that piece go to Lewis Hamilton, the Obsidian Dog Dad.
Yeah,
that's beautiful. That obviously didn't go to a collector. That was a miraculous save by the studio, who then I think put that in the hands of Legacy Rips, who then puts it in the hand of Lewis Hamilton. I think they should have a special variant just for that type of stuff. I don't know, celebrity variation. That's not what it should be called, but you know what I mean? If you're going to make a Porsche piece, and you want to gift it to Porsche, have a special variation, not of the 40. That's my first thing. I want to see what pieces go out. I'm a fan of massive transparency. 2, I want to see, and this is a lot of work, I don't want to just see what variations went out. I want to be able to see what the variation looks like on that piece. For example, there are some PMGs on some pieces, I'll say it, that I don't like more than regular variations.
100% agree.
Right?
Yeah.
It distorts the background a little bit. Like, I don't like it as much. Now, I don't know I don't like it as much until I see it in the wild. If you tell me, Kurt, do you want a Ruby King of the City 2? It's like, yes.
Hell yeah.
Maybe. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know until I see it. I'd like to see the website show all the variations on that piece. Artists do that today.
Ooh, yeah.
Artists do it today, believe it or not. And now they don't have 40 per se. And like I said, that's an administrative burden. But PiggyBanx is king. If we're going to invest in transparency, it's how far do you go? Do you just say, hey, this has Sapphire Ruby? Use your imagination? Or come to go all the way? Don't do anything half-ass. I'm all in on everything. I want to see the variations on every piece and how they look, because I am active on the secondary market and I want to know what I want to chase. So when I put out an in search of, I don't want to in search of something. Someone's like, I have it. And I'm like, just kidding. That doesn't look good on that piece. I don't want it. I want to know what I'm hunting. Now, in the sports car world, Sam, they don't have that. They don't show you what the 1 of 1 looks like, the patch auto. You need to find it. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on it, man?
I like it, man. I like your idea. I mean, like simple things. Like I'm chasing currently like a wavy Pika, a big wave Pika in Angel Dust, and so I was, lucky enough to get a response from Concierge. They told me it's out there somewhere, so I know it's out in the wild. But if they had that transparency, it would be a lot easier to know whether you can hunt down certain sets. For people who like the variant match. So that's one huge benefit I see right there, right? And like you said, seeing the variant, it matters, right, to a lot of us, because with the art, sometimes certain variants, it just doesn't work, right? So you have to be able to see it in order to know whether you actually really want that piece in, let's say, Atomic or, whatever it may be, right?
Agreed. Fareed, what are your thoughts, man?
I think I don't necessarily disagree with this. It would be nice because I always say that just because it's PMG, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna look better than Refractor.
Mm-hmm.
I almost want to say like every piece sort of has their best match with the variant, but especially with the new printing techniques where the design is on top of the variant. I mean, this opens up the doors completely. But I think to what you said about those like special PMGs for like celebrities on the latest episode by Jason and Samir, they showed a book and there were a gazillion variants which we haven't even seen yet
Yeah.
out there. So I wouldn't be like surprised if they're gonna designate, 1, 2, or 3 or something, like certain like variants which are gonna be designated as those top tier, high end for
Your
certain.
sponsorship, your partnership pieces. I don't know what you call them, right?
Yeah, something like that.
You put the segue right in there. Variations, last topic, gentlemen. Variations. Yeah, I talked about it with him. Who wouldn't? Regular versus PNG, of course. I think that gap is closing dramatically because of the new printer. Like I said, snakeskin. I'm pretty sure nobody liked snakeskin 6 months ago. And there are people that do, but the majority don't. And then I get my snakeskin Collector Heart 02, and I can't think of a variant I would want more. Now, again, I haven't seen them, but to me, it looks like Baby Diamond. Shout out Fareed. And it's epic, man. It's like, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, ever. So I think that gap's closing. And I think PiggyBanx recognizes it is. So I think they're thinking through what is regular, what is PMG moving forward. And then Mr. Banks did something I wasn't ready for, gentlemen. I wasn't ready for, gentlemen. He said, hang on. And he goes off camera and he pulls out 3 pieces in the flesh, not pieces of paper like in the book that you referenced, Fareed. I'm saying printed pieces on variations I had never seen before. And let me tell you what. If you thought PMGs were good, you know nothing. Because I looked at this piece and I was like, it looked, I can't even say what it looked like because it would give it away. It was the most stunning thing and I could not comprehend it. I said, what? I probably said, what the hell is that? And he said he has names for them. And he mentioned that he thinks Alpha's not going to be top dog maybe one day. Like when he was showing me these things, I'm saying these smash Alpha. So when you think about everything, and again, you talk about money bands, it's like, no, everything I think when the studio does things, it makes everything else better. Previous Alphas might be better. Previous Diamonds might be better because now they're coming out with these new things that make these more rare. They make them more unique. I can't comprehend, but I'll tell you on the variations, nobody's going to touch this. Nobody's going to touch this concept, and he's pushing the limits, saying he wants collecting. You know how you have the 5-piece sets now? He's considering, the studio's considering putting out 3-piece sets to a single collector, like as a package deal. And the 3-piece set he mentioned, he called it the Holy Trinity.
3-piece set
of a single piece. So picture, I don't know, Collector Heart 02 in 3 different variations.
Ooh, I see what you're saying.
Sold on auction. And I'm telling you, these 3 variations would absolutely floor you. Okay? They would floor you. And his intention, if he goes through with it, he said, Kurt, I'm just playing around. He's holding them like they're playing cards. He's like, I'm just playing around with the idea. I'm like, be gentle.
pipeline.
But the idea is that those 3 variants never get separated from each other because they are part of the Holy Trinity. They're part of, or whatever he names it, part of this 3-piece set that complement each other, that they go together. And imagine if that 3-piece set became the auction set instead of the Alpha. Now the alpha goes out, whether it's sold individually or it's part of the release or however he chooses to do that, or if the alpha becomes the celebrity piece, whatever. And then the Holy Trinity, imagine what he could do for charity selling the Holy Trinity set. And I'm telling you, when you saw it, you put your face through the wall as you try to run towards it. Imagine, we just saw what, the $50,000 auction for Ronaldo? The $30,000 auction for Messi? Imagine the Holy Trinity set. What's it doing? 200K? So you think about what he's doing. He's like, I'm going to enhance collectability. I'm going to enhance innovation. And I'm also going to find a way to better give back. If I auction that, think about it.
If it's called Holy Trinity, I hope the first drop is going to be PIGG, AP, and Vacheron Constantine. I'm sorry. Because when you think of Holy Trinity, that's what that's what comes into your mind. So if that's going to be the first drop, I mean, but yes, to your point, again, right? All I can say is, I mean, besides being super, super excited about the future, again, this is just the beginning. I mean, this is just one of the things. Can you imagine what else is out there that they already have in the pipeline or thinking about that we don't even know about? Right?
I don't think he's even thinking about releasing that for another 8 months at a minimum because he wants to get it right. And I wouldn't be surprised if he completely cans the idea and does something with it or changes the variation of that concept. Or, I mean, literally, this was just in passing. It's not like, hey, Kurt, I've got this big news. He's like, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm messing around with this. That's what type of moment it was. And for me, it was like a shock and awe moment. And for him, it's like a Tuesday. He's like, he's messing around with this on the side. Like, look at this variation. I was like, what is that? I've never seen anything more beautiful than what he showed me on camera. I am not kidding. I'm not a fluffer. I'm not a pumper. I'm not kidding you. Whatever material it was, and one of them I will tell you is golden-ish, okay, of the three. It looked like a gold bar, like a shiny, like I was in Fort Knox. It was like, it hit my eyeball and the shine on it, and I don't know. You know how he has like the bolt fractor? I felt like there was something else going on in the gold that made it like PiggyBanx. Again, we're talking about who's ahead. They're coming out with the next product line, which is this new variation, which nobody has on their mat. Everyone's still wrapping their heads around PMGs. Like, oh, I'm just got PMGs, right? No. He already has it printed. And he isn't even sure if he's gonna release it because he wants to keep messing with it.
How do you not get emotional when you think about this, right? I mean, when somebody, when this is gonna air, right, and collectors are gonna watch this episode, right? How do you not get emotional and excited about the future? The future of the brand, the future of the collectible world and where it's going. I just hope, I'm here a year or 2 or 3 down the line, just, like to see, everything that's going to happen. It's just so exciting.
So exciting. Final thought, partnerships. This is a bonus topic for the day. The company, I think, is committed to getting pieces in the right place. And I watch a lot of stories on Instagram about people speculating, like, how do we get a piece into this person's hands or this person's hands? And Legacy Rips did it with Lewis Hamilton. What a great moment. I love that the community thinks of things like that. I would add this, though, from my conversation with Mr. Banks. The community getting pieces or the company getting pieces in somebody's hands is cool. What does it mean in the end? Potentially nothing. Lewis Hamilton can get that piece and put it on his mantle, and it could be his favorite art piece ever, and he could never mention it. That's a possibility, right? He could never post it. He could never say anything about it ever. And it's just a cool moment for the community. And it's a cool moment for him. What matters is the company, PiggyBanx, forming strategic partnerships with others, if that's the route they want to go down. PiggyBanx getting connected to Lewis Hamilton matters. PiggyBanx making a partnership with Porsche matters when they tag Porsche and Collector Heart and when they tag Rolex. Those two. A collector walking into a Rolex dealer and being like, hey, you want a piece? Cool. Doesn't matter. That's my take. Doesn't matter. Cool for the community. Doesn't matter. I think PiggyBanx is focused on partnership. And what I think the community is not focusing on enough on, because I think there's just a lot of side noise about how do we get a piece here and how do we get a piece there. Cool, fun. What they're not focusing on, and they should be, and I'm here to tell you, is I think the company's focusing on strategic partnerships. And what that tells me is when they say, I want to do XYZ intentionally, and that is going to propel us, that's going to take us to the next wave, in addition to us just having organic growth, right? That's sort of strategic growth. They have organic growth where they're just going to grow their customer base and grow the community. And the community, I think, does a great job itself of organic growth. That's where we come in. That's where us putting the piece in Tom Brady's hand or Lewis Hamilton. Fine, organic growth. Strategic growth isn't talked about. I left that conversation with Mr. Banks knowing the company's focused on strategic growth and strategic partnerships. I'm telling you what, duck and cover for the next era. Because if any of the 100 things they have planned in the side with their strategic pathways come to fruition, on top of the light switch moment, all this speculation that I call pumping, take it to the moon, that's pump. I don't like pumps. Sam, I'm not a card guy. I don't like people pumping the market. I'm not here for it. I like action. I like strategy because I'm a business guy. I'm here to tell you there's a strategy in play that nobody needs to worry about. Enjoy being part of the community. Don't feel like it's on you to get this to happen. Okay? Don't feel like it's on you. It's not on you. Enjoy the community. Enjoy the experience. Enjoy the interactions. Enjoy the moments, the Lewis Hamilton moments. Enjoy it. But know the company, PiggyBanx, is doing what it needs to do to take it to the moon.
I think you couldn't have said it better. And as a final thought, probably to build a little bit on it is, and this is only, brand can be great and amazing, but it needs followers, right? It needs its customer base. So I think like my message is to our current customer base is let's all try to be ambassadors of the brand. Let's stop criticizing, others. We all have different opinions. We might, all want to see PiggyBanx reach, a certain point, and each one of us thinks that there is a different way to get there, but it doesn't matter. What we think doesn't matter. And it's the way you just said it, right? Our job is just to support the brand, buy what we love. Let the studio, that's their job to create a path and the way, how to reach a certain destination. So as far as we are concerned as a collectors, let's be good to each other in Discord, in IG, whatever it is that we communicate, right? Let's be good to each other. Let's all be ambassadors of the brand. I think that's my message.
Sam, thoughts?
Yeah, I couldn't have said any better than Farik and yourself. I mean, and I think I touched up on it in our last interview. Is like I'm just excited on where the studio takes us. I don't feel personally responsible for getting us there. Like I just try to be a good ambassador, like Farik says. Try to be positive, try to help those new collectors come in and really remove a lot of that toxicity that sometimes we see. Like in the IG chats. That negativity doesn't do the brand anything. It doesn't do us anything. Like, it might ruin our day, right? Like I'm here more because I love it. I love the community, right? I love the experience of everything the community gives me. And so, what I would say is like, yeah, that's what we should be focused on, right? And leave the growing part to the studio. Of course we can do our part by welcoming new members and helping new members out and giving them information, but it's not our responsibility to try to make PiggyBanx, the next Patek or, whatever it may be that, we want it to be. And a lot of us are going to have different objectives. A lot of us are going to feel like, we're in it for something different. So we should all respect that. Like everybody has different points of view, like Farik says, and we certainly have ours. But we'll just try to spread positivity and help grow the brand.
Spread positivity. When you step on others, it puts you on uneven footing. You can elevate your preference by just focusing on the great things that they do. And PiggyBanx is great. Let's not do anything to hurt the brand. How about that? All love to both of you.
Well said.
I appreciate you joining us today. This special edition. I'm going to be talking with Mr. Banks monthly if I continue to be fortunate and not piss him off too much with my questions. and we'll circle back for more editions. If the two of you will be part of it, man, love to have.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Kurt.
Anytime. Yeah, thanks, Farik. Thanks, Kurt, man. This has been fun.
All love. My condolences go out to Canada today.
Thanks.
Take care, gentlemen.
All right, peace out, man.
On this end.
Thank you.
Until next time, stay sharp, chase smart.